This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Athletics.
Leaping at the wall, it's gone! A towering drive into center field by Rooker.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
A judgy blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Swung on, hit high, hit deep to right, away back into the second deck.
Bobby Witt Jr. becomes the first shortstop in Major League history to have two 30-30 seasons.
Shohei Ohtani starts the 50-50 club.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to walk-off dingers to Hall of Fame talk. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to A's Cast Live from the studios at NBC in San Francisco. Chris Townsend, Cody Elias, the commander. We have a fantastic show for you next hour, whether you're listening on the A's Radio Network, 650 KSTE in Sacramento. You're listening on A's Cast. You're watching us on YouTube. You're watching us on Twitter. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by. Ed Sprague is going to be here today. The two-time World Series champion, Olympic gold medalist, Stanford great, Toronto Blue Jay, now a guy who runs all our players in the minor league system. He is going to be here to talk about Leo, Gage. There's some talent down at Double-A, so some stuff we got to talk about. So Leo Vries yesterday, 0 for 3 of the walk. That's what he ended up with.
Was it 0 for 3 or 0 for 4? Either way, it was 0 for, but he had a walk.
Last time I checked when we were going on air in the post game, he was 0 for 3 with a walk. Did he get 5 ABs?
I want to say I thought he was 0 for 4 with a walk, but I'll double check. It's exciting tonight because tonight is Gage Jump is pitching in Midland with similarly DeVries being in the lineup for the Rockhounds as they continue their series against Wichita. They fell last night 10-4. DeVries was 0 for 4 with the walk last night.
0 for 4 with the walk. All right. Well, you know who's happy about that walk. David Force is like, what a success. He walked.
Well, that's
Tell you that.
That's when I saw the Zach Geloff was PCL player of the week. He had 7 homers last week, and he's still striking out a lot, but he also has 10 walks in the month of August.
If I could have a wish. What do you have, 35 games left?
35, yeah.
If I could have a wish, my guy Zach Geloff would figure it out. Can you just imagine 2028 Las Vegas, an infield of Kurtz at first? Well, first, Langoliers behind the dish, Kurtz at first, Geloff at second. Pick who you want at short. There's some we've now read from Kylie McDaniel on ESPN who everyone we've heard from, everybody has said DeVries shortstop, but some think because he's 6'1", he's 6'1" at 18 years old, right? He's 185 at 18 years old. Do you know how many guys are going to college football 6'1", like wide receivers at 185? He's built like a freshman going into college as like a wide receiver, a defensive back. Would that be fair?
Yeah, I think so.
Right? So that's pretty decent size, 185. I didn't get 185 till – well, you were like born 185. I didn't get to be 185 until I was in college. So he could move over to third. One of them moves to third. Whoever you want to move to third. That's a pretty interesting infield in 2028 in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Because and then the outfield even too is even interesting, depending on who you want to have out there.
Well, yeah, but we're talking about talking
Wilson.
about DeVries. I mean, this is super exciting stuff. So a lot to get into with Ed Sprague, but the thing today, the realignment talk is fascinating. It's something that I have talked about for many, many years here on A's Cast and A's Cast Live. I have my measurement, if you want data, if you want math, on how you should do division. What is my golden rule, whether someone should be in your division or not?
If you can't get there 3 hours on a Southwest flight, are we changing it? Are we keeping Southwest or just a flight now?
Does that make me a West Coast honk that I always say Southwest?
I don't think so. I mean,
okay. We'll change it to any flight. But Southwest flies everywhere. It's always better in case Southwest becomes a sponsor. If you can't take a Southwest flight and it's under 3 hours, you shouldn't be in the same division. Shouldn't. So, like I've said, the Astros and the Rangers should not be in the same division as the Athletics and the Seattle Mariners. I mean, a flight from Seattle to Texas is over 4 hours, well over 4 hours. They should not be in the same division. It's ridiculous. So the Athletic, who we having on today?
Stephen Nesbitt.
Stephen Nesbitt of the Athletic has taken a shot at it. We saw Fox, MLB, you know, they have their Fox, I don't even know what the website is, but for their national broadcast, Fox on MLB or MLB on Fox, whatever the hell they call it. They had theirs, and it was very interesting. They didn't even have the Giants and the Dodgers in the same division. So there is a lot of talk because I know it's hard. Change is hard. Change is something people just don't like. And they really don't like it in baseball. Baseball doesn't like it itself. This has been very hard, right? A DH in the National League was hard. Pitch timer, really a clock, was hard. The bigger bases, people don't like the extra innings rule, but we live with it. I love it because I'm a post-game guy, so I love it. But for like fans, you deal with it. We survive. We survive with change. But this would be potentially radical change. And the commissioner was in Williamsport for when it was the Mets.
The Mariners.
Mets and Mariners at the Little League World Series game. And some of the things he said, he's right. Like for East Coast teams to come out west and you're playing a game at 10 o'clock at night, is that good for the game? Now, it's going to happen, but you could really cut it down. Is it really good? Is it good for us to have Sunday morning games at 10 a.m. when we're on the East Coast? Is that something? Is Friday at 4 o'clock on the West Coast really a great time to start a series? And then Saturday and Sunday is 10 a.m. Most people, we tend to do things in the morning. You're not night owls like I am. I'm up all night long. I wish baseball games started at midnight. I could watch that till 3 a.m. when I go to bed. I'm a night owl. I'm a post-game show guy. As I like to say, I'm the boob who takes your phone calls after the game. But for most people, they wake up because you have jobs. You have 9-to-5 jobs. Your sleeping habits. You wake up. You get up. There's things that you do in the morning. People work out. People run errands. Baseball, those games are not highly rated. So we're talking about struggles for the people on the East. I mean, if you don't know geography and population, the majority of human beings in the United States of America are on the Eastern Seaboard, followed by then on the west part of on the Pacific Ocean. That's where the majority of human beings are. It's not the Midwest. That's where they are. So it's like you got to take care of the fan bases. So why are we playing games in the East Coast at 10 o'clock? Is that really good for baseball? No. So could it be time, and I know this freaks people out, I'm sorry, baseball started in the Northeast and then started moving west, kept moving west, and then they got the Giants and the Dodgers moved here in 1958, right? It was 58?
Yes.
There's just been a migration out west, and baseball has had a really hard time on how to deal with it. We were with two 20-year-olds at NBC yesterday. Two 20-year-olds who, like, when I told them when I was growing up, the Atlanta Braves were in the National League West, along with the Cincinnati Reds and the Houston Astros. And they were like, what? I'm like, yeah, that's how it used to be. It was messed up. And if you're a 49er fan, you'd remember you used to have the Atlanta Falcons and the New Orleans Saints in your division. But the NFL fixed that. Baseball has kind of fixed it, but it may be time to go dramatic. Sorry, the leagues, the American League, the National League, how we change things. Do you go more to a, like the NBA and hockey, a Western and Eastern conference? So the West is playing the majority of its games in the Western time zones versus having teams in your own conference. Like, why are we constantly going back east and back to the Midwest? Should we? So there's a lot that's going to be talked about. But more importantly, we're going to bring on a 2-time World Series champion, a Olympic gold medalist. Ed Sprague, the director of player development, joins us once again here on A's Cast Live. Ed, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing good. I got to think a lot of attention on Midland tonight. Gage Jump going to be going in Midland. DeVries in his second game. How much are all eyes on Midland right now?
I'd say quite a bit. Yeah, I was there last week, and Jump looked good, and then I went to Lansing to see Leo, and of course moved him from there. So it's exciting time. They haven't played well in the second half after winning the first half, so they got to kind of gear back up for their playoff run into September.
Well, obviously you were a big part of the decision about Leo going from Lansing to Midland, going from high A to double A. He's 18 years old. I keep trying to say to people, if he was born in this country, he would have just graduated from high school. He potentially could have been the number 1 overall pick in the draft, where then you guys would have sent him down to Arizona, and who knows where he'd be right now. But right now he's 18 years old in double A. Talk about moving him up and why you guys did it.
Yeah, I mean, there was some talk. We had conversations. I talked to the Padres player development people after we traded them, and their kind of track that he was going to be on with them. And they certainly had some ideas. They were probably going to move him up. Getting to know him, I think he's very mature. His game is very good. The physical skills are there. There's a lot to clean up on, just the small details of the game, that most young kids have to get used to, and just positioning and using the positioning card nowadays, cutoffs and relays, a lot of that stuff. So, but he's a special talent, and I just don't think, I'm surprised that he was only hitting 250, but the swing is beautiful from both sides of the plate. And I just, in talking to David, I think the time was right to get him up there. We have Gregorio Petit, who was a, longtime major league shortstop, Latin speaker. Felt like it's a really good spot for his development to continue.
I mean, is it hard for you just to fathom at times? I mean, thinking about your career, I mean, you'd be at Stanford right now as a freshman, and this kid's playing in double A.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that he didn't even spend any time in the Dominican or in the Arizona League, he went right to California League as a 17-year-old is pretty impressive, and then to move him up again to high A. So he's obviously ahead of the curve for most guys. But he's been talented since the day, people saw him back in 2020, and he's continued on that track. So I'm excited for him. Like I said, there's some maturity there on the field that's well beyond his years.
When you watch him play, what makes you go, wow?
Well, I like to look at the on-deck swings, it gives me an indication of how guys look. His swing in the on-deck circle is exactly like his swing in the game, Some guys' on-deck circle swing is a reminder of what they're trying to do, swing down the ball or swing up on the ball. His is just perfect balance. His lower half is balance. He talks about his lower half balance. He sees the ball really well. His takes are really good, and that's a good indication of how you're seeing the ball. He takes to the zone. He can check off pitches. And it's very similar from both sides. I saw him probably a little more from the left than I did the right. Not that I've seen a ton. But it looks good, and I joked to David, I said, you may have just traded for Juan Soto, so, I hope that rings out to be true. And I know that's high praise on the kid, but, in a small sample size, there was certainly a lot to like.
Like everybody's been trying, we all love to play the comp business. What's the comp to this guy? And I got asked that on our pregame show on NBC yesterday. And I said, you know what the reality is? He's 6'1", 185. And I was just talking about it before you came on. 18 years old, 6'1", 185 reminds me of what most freshman wide receivers going into D1 football or defensive backs. That's pretty much how they're built. And then you grow a little bit, you gain the size, you gain the strength. So, I mean, he'll be over 190 at some point, probably 195. Who knows how big he gets, maybe 200. He's a good-sized kid, and I'm thinking switch hitter. I don't know what a comp is for him, and I don't think there needs to be one. Just, talk about the ability to switch hit, too, because we always talk to Jed Lowry about how you got to maintain both swings. At both swings, it's hard to say both swings are the same. Talk about the difference between him swinging right-handed and left-handed.
Yeah, I mean, right-handed is his natural side, and you obviously get less reps there. He does say he feels more comfortable Like I said, the development for the Padres, they were torn whether he was a better right-handed hitter or left-handed hitter. The swing looks very similar from both sides. His hands are a little bit lower from the left side, a little bit higher from the right side. It looks like he has a tendency to chase the pitch up right-handed a little bit more, but he still fouls it off. But the bat speed and the balance are equally the same. I think his splits, I haven't dug into his splits, but I think they're probably a little bit better left-handed. That's mostly because he gets more reps there. So it's hard to be a switch hitter, and play up the middle, but it's exciting to have an 18-year-old like this in AA and see where it goes. But you're right. It's not fair to comp the kid at all. Let him play. I think he knows he's a big leaguer. He's going to be a big leaguer. At what point that happens, who knows? Like I said, there's some stuff to clean up on the defensive side, and not from a skill standpoint. He's got a great arm. He's got great hands. He's got great feet. But I think just, he's 18. So just paying attention, pre-pitch, moving with the ball, doing little things like that.
Yeah, a lot of people immediately came out with Francisco Lindor, who obviously is a great player, but he's bigger than Lindor. I mean, and
he has room to grow. It's a body that's going to, like you said, he can put on weight, 10 pounds, 15 pounds real easy and not notice.
Just tell our fans, when you were talking to the Padres guys, how sad they are to lose Leo.
Well, they loved him, that's for sure. There was some talk that they thought that if they didn't trade him, they might even call him to the big leagues and throw him in left field for the remainder of the year because he was a better option than they had at the time. That's how highly they felt about him. So, obviously they pushed their chips in the table for Mason, and we were lucky to come out, with Leo on his side.
No, that's it. I mean, cannot be excited, no question. We've now started to talk a lot about jump. And you're starting to see, and there's a great article today, and we have Stephen Nesbitt on a little bit later. He did an article in The Athletic, talked about, look at left-handed pitching right now in baseball. It is amazing how left-handers have really, as human beings and great athletes do, they adapt. And now that left-handers have gotten used to seeing all right-handed lineups, lefties are throwing with more velocity than ever before. Lefties have more pitches than ever before. It used to be everything was just you went fastball away, changeup away. You stayed away from righties and you dominated left-handers. But now these lefties have weapons, right? They've got fastballs that they're bringing in on right-handers. They've got sliders, cutters, sweepers. They're attacking different parts of the zone to right-handers. The evolution of the left-handed pitcher in the last few years, I'm sure you've been seeing it, and Jupp looks like one of those guys.
Yeah, and he's got that different look, that's kind of been, everybody's been after lately. He's got that little bit lower slot with the, the cut ride fastball and then, the breaking ball and the changeup and the cutter and the sweeper. He's got 5 pitches he throws for strikes. He's going to be a good one. We took his innings. He backed him down a little bit in the middle of the year, right around the All-Star break, to make sure he could finish the season on track with his innings limit. And he wasn't happy about that at all, but he kind of understood, and he feels better than ever. So hopefully he'll continue to stay healthy and you're going to probably see him in the big leagues. I don't want to say very soon, but I wouldn't be surprised that at some point next year he's in Sacramento.
Whether we're talking about Lopez at the big league level, Arnold, who you just drafted out of Florida State, seeing these guys, kind of the 3 quarters, and we know more about biomechanics than ever before. There's some people who've done a lot more medical school than I'll ever do will say that it's better for the arm to have a slot down here than way up traditionally like we were all taught. Have you studied that? And we're starting to see, obviously, we used to, back in the day, we used to call these guys slingers. They used to be called slingers. Now we're hearing this might be what's best for the shoulder and the elbow.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, that lower slot where the ball appears to go up in the zone, which exposes right-handers and left-handers to their swing up there. Visually the ball's staying on plane a lot longer. So we have ways to measure that. So I think you can look at that as you're acquiring these players in the draft or in trades. So I think you look into those different type of looks that's different to the hitter's eyes, that the perception value of what you think the ball is going to do and what it's actually doing is different. And so I think that's kind of the outlier nowadays is what those numbers provide is what does the hitter think it's going to do and what is it actually doing? And that provides the slight advantage to those pitchers.
I want to give a lot of love to Fran Reardon and his group down there with the Las Vegas Aviators, because we have now seen multiple guys come up, struggle, they go back down. Seems like They've got a good system to get guys back on track, to send them back up. Just talk about what they've been doing with the Las Vegas Aviators, are really helping players. And one guy we're looking at right now, hopefully getting back on track, is Zach Geloff.
Yeah, well, you got a lot of experience. I mean, Fran's been managing a long time, all the way back to when he was an independent ball. So he knows how to handle different types of personalities. And, you get a lot of that. You get young kids coming up. You get disgruntled guys coming down, trying to find their way back there. And so he set up a very good atmosphere for everybody to kind of thrive in that. And he gives them their space. And then they come to them. And, of course, you have Paul Abbott, longtime major league pitcher and pitching coach, that's done a very good job down there. And then Brian McCarn, who's been in our system for years and has had a lot of these guys at different levels, and does a great job with, working with Bushy at the major league level to get these guys back on track like Zach.
We talk about some of these young players. I mean, it's like we forget about Geloff. I mean, when he first came up, I was like, God, if I have a comp, he looked like Ryan Sandberg. He had size, he had power, he had speed, he could drive the ball out of the ballpark to right center. And then it's just been a lot of struggles for him to make contact. We know he's on a heater right now, right? We just saw a walk-off home run. He's in a bunch of home runs right now. What difference are you seeing in Zach Geloff so we can get him back up here?
Yeah, I mean, you look years ago, we were talking about this was Zach Geloff's team, right? He was the young guy leading this young group moving forward. And, he had a tough year last year, and he tried to make some changes in the offseason that didn't really work. And then he had the injury. So I think the biggest thing is it looks like he's narrowed up a little bit. He's standing a little bit taller. He's working downhill a little bit more, not as much uphill. And it's starting to pay off. We know he's got the talent. We know he's got the ability to drive the ball out to all parts of the ballpark. And I know Vegas skews that for some people looking at that, but he's still hitting the ball hard, and 7 home runs this week against one team. And that's a pretty good week for him. And he's always been a good defender and continuing to hone his craft there. So, I think Zach will be back soon. He's too good of a player to hold down.
Let's end on this. And I'm just so impressed by Tyler Soderstrom and the young man that's growing in front of our eyes. We had him on immediately when he was drafted. We know his dad. I played against his dad in college. His dad got a chance to play for the Giants. He was a first-round pick, so he grew up in this world. And then the Athletics take him in the first round as a catcher, but we watched him kind of grow out of catcher, and he started figuring out first base. And all of a sudden, here's Nick Kurtz. It's like, hey, we need your bat. Will you go out and play left field? And he said, no problem. And to be not selfish and switch positions. He's got the longest hitting streak in baseball right now. He's putting up numbers that you go for a full season for a 23-year-old. That's some really, really good stuff. Just how impressed have you been with him and watching him mature as a young player and a young man?
Yeah, we got him as an 18-year-old at the All-Site, right? And he came up with all those guys around him. He was just a very young kid, I don't want to say immature, but he was immature in terms of the game, and obviously he played very well. We could always knew he could hit, right? And hitting was always going to be ahead of the catching, but we knew he could still catch. He struggled when he went to Lansing that second year, and it was freezing cold, and he was hitting $160, and he said, I don't want to catch anymore. And I'm like, man, you have a golden ticket, left-handed hitting catcher. You got to stay with it. He's like, I could play shortstop in the big leagues. I'm like, come on, Tyler. He's like, I can play anywhere. I can play left. I'm like, well, yeah, you can probably stand out there. And here he is. He's playing in incredible left field. So I got to apologize. I would have got that one wrong. He's proved to me that he's much better athlete than maybe we thought when we first got him. He's played an outstanding left field, and good for him for the unselfishness to go out there and play left for the good of the team. And like I said, we've watched him grow up in front of our eyes.
Let's end on this. How important is it, because you had a terrific career, obviously 2-time World Series champion, what you did in college at Stanford, a decorated career. How much are all your experiences that you went through as a player that you now can give to these young players who may have crazy ideas, right? They're kids, and they might, and you got, wait a minute, let me tell you, I've been through this. I've done that. This is what's best. How important have your experiences been for helping these young men put them on the right track to get them to the big leagues?
Yeah, you just try to relay, not only your own experiences, but experiences you've seen with other players you may have played with, or now the players that we've had in the system. I've been here, back 10 years, different types of guys that have been up and down, Schumann's a great story that, got bumped off his position, had to change positions. And next thing you know, he's played 50 games at short last year. And and now he's a key part of that team. So you try to share those thoughts with those players when they get frustrated. The path for everybody is different, right? It's not, you don't get drafted and go to A-ball, AA, AAA, big leagues, and then you're there. I mean, it's a different path for everybody, and each path is individual. It's unique. They may have injuries, they may have setbacks, they may get a taste, they may go back down. But if they stick with it, there's a path for everybody to get there.
Ed, we always know you're super busy, so when you stop by, it's much, much appreciated. Be well, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Chris, take care.
Ed Sprague with us here, A's Cast Live, star at Stanford, Blue Jays 2 World Series title, once again won Olympic gold in the Seoul Games in 1988, and his wife is also a gold medalist. I don't know about you, my wife didn't win gold.
Yeah, my wife did not win any gold at anything.
I mean, I didn't win anything either, but neither did my wife. Now, Ed Sprague, great to have him on. Did you just hear that? He just said the Padres people were contemplating Vries this year.
Left field.
Bring him up. Because A.J. Preller doesn't care. A.J. Preller, and there's a lot of A.J. Preller I don't respect, but then there's some that I do. Hey, I respect that. Hey, I need to win. This kid can help me win. I'm telling you, when this all happened and I started researching it, the Padres believed, no doubt, he would be in the big leagues next year. Some believed it was opening day next year. And now Ed backs it up by this just doesn't just stuff that I researched. Ed's backing up straight from Padres people. They were going to have him in left field maybe. Well, this year as an 18-year-old.
Remember, that shouldn't surprise you.
Do you understand what that's like Al Kaline-ish?
When you shouldn't be surprised that they want to have him play in the outfield and play in the major leagues and also switch positions. Jackson Merrill's a shortstop, and they had him start his major league career playing center field. So it doesn't surprise me that they want to have him switch positions, but having him come up this year, that is very surprising for a team that's in the thick of a playoff race.
Dude, the amount of young talent that the A's have right now is crazy. Has there ever, Dave Feldman, you know what? I'm going to go ask Dave Feldman. Has there ever been a better collection? Long way to go, because when you start talking about Reggie Jackson, Sal Bando, and Joe Rudy, and on and on and on, Gene Tennis, and on a Catfish Hunter, and, Raleigh Fingers, that's tough to beat. All right. Probably no way. You had young Jose Canseco and young McGuire, and here comes Walter Weiss, right? And you had some great, but this collection of guys, Kurtz could be all world. Jacob Wilson could be all world. Tyler Soderstrom is showing you he is legit. Shea Langoliers, oh my God. What if this DeVries kid is a super? You got multiple guys that could be stars, not superstars. I'll clarify that.
Well, I heard BK say superstar about Mookie Betts, and
Mookie Betts is not a superstar.
Oh, you didn't fight. You didn't say anything about it when we were listening to that.
You know that.
You can't. You don't like to argue against BK about anything. He also said he's not a big defensive metrics guy when we know that's not true.
Is Mookie Betts a household name? Is Mookie Betts a household? He's a great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Is he a household name in sports?
Sports, no.
I got number 2 wide receivers who are more popular than Mookie Betts. And you're telling me he's a superstar? Case and point. More next, right here on A's Talk.
ESPN's Paul Hembekides praised the A's young lineup, calling it one to watch while on A's Cast Live with Towny.
I have sure been noticing, and as I go to my Twitter timeline, and I look at a tweet that I sent out at 11:37 a.m. Eastern on July 31st, the day of the Major League Baseball trade deadline, a tweet that has seen nearly 1 million views. As you may have seen, all I did was list any number of promising young players in the A's either lineup or system with their attached age, and this is something that people very clearly resonated with, because I list here Leo DeVries, Nick Kurtz, Max Muncy, Jacob Wilson, Tyler Soderstrom, Lawrence Butler, Denzel Clark, Shea Langoliers, and Brent Rooker, all of whom are 30 years of age or considerably younger. And so what I am telling you, my friend, is that the A's are building a freaking Leviathan. The A's lineup within the course of the next 3 years is going to be considered one of the 5 best in baseball. And right now you might say that their numbers are being inflated slightly or considerably by the fact that they play in a hitter-friendly ballpark. Last time you and I spoke, I believe I told you I expect it to play small, and it most certainly has. However, you can even adjust what the A's are doing by ballpark, and you still clearly see Nick Kurtz hitting out of his ever-loving mind, and Jacob Wilson before the injury doing the exact same thing. So by no means am I willing to sit here and say that these guys are merely a product of their environment. No. This A's lineup is for real. It is ascending, and by the time you guys wind up where you ultimately wind up, I think we're talking about one of the very best lineups in all of baseball once these guys reach their prime collectively.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast. Jesus Cano from Baseball America broke down the buzz around new top prospect Leo Vries on A's Cast Live with Towny.
One of one, no question. I mean, there's a reason that why he was such a coveted player from when he was 12, 13 years old in the Dominican Republic. I mean, this guy, you take a look at him, he is a ball player. You know, I've got to interview him at the prospect pad for Baseball America. I've spoken to him in the past, carries himself like a big leaguer at just 18 years old. I mean, this guy is somebody that's going to be a perennial all-star. Scouts love this guy. They love watching him play. He has a lot of comps to Francisco Lindor. So I think that tells you all you need to know about Leo Vries. A's fans should be excited that they were able to get him here.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
Streaming from NBC Sports, A's Cast Live continues with Chris Townsend.
Cody Elias, Chris Townsend with you here, A's Cast Live. Stephen Nesbitt of The Athletic will be joining us in a few moments to talk about relocation or realignment and left-handed starting pitchers taking over baseball this season. But let's pause 10 seconds for station identification right here on A's Cast.
All right, so I just checked with David Feldman, who's out for lunch.
You did say he has a great
Didn't you people work? Am I the only guy that works around here? He was like, yeah. Is that crazy to say that this young group could be rival the greatest?
Well, we went through the exercise on talking about the expansion draft and the guys we wanted to keep, and it was all the young guys.
I mean, because you go, well, Reggie Jackson's a Hall of Famer. Well, all right, I'll put this is talk radio and streaming. So it
is National Radio Day, by the way.
I will put the cart before the horse here. Yep. Nick Kurtz could be that guy. Nick Kurtz could be Reggie Jackson.
Yeah, it does have light tower power.
I mean, seriously. Remember, the guys from the 70s, as great as they were, they don't put up the home run numbers of guys today. Tyler Soderstrom is 23 years old and is going to have more home runs than most of these guys in the 70s ever put up.
And he has a 17-game hitting streak. Just throw that out there.
Soderstrom's got 27 bombs. Sody's got, Shea Langoliers has 27 bombs.
Catching.
He's going to have over 30 this year. Jacob Wilson hitting. I mean, this young core. And then you bring up a guy, if this DeVries kid is this great, and you're talking about a kid that could have a long, prosperous major league career, you come up to the big, like, I'm just trying to think how many dudes, Al Kaline, Hall of Famer for the Tigers, my old friend Al Kaline. If you guys don't remember, I had a moment with Al Kaline at Tiger Stadium, which was just amazing. But Al Kaline, 18. I know Mike Morgan with the A's graduated high school and then pitched immediately. But I'm just thinking about position players who are 18 who played in the big leagues.
It's not many.
What was Andrew Jones? 19? Griffey, 19.
Yeah,
A-Rod. Was A-Rod 19 or 20? I mean, we're talking about the best.
Andrew Jones was 19, yeah. So it's the youngest.
Yeah, let's not think this is crazy, man. Andrew Jones walked in with the Atlanta Braves and the best pitching staff and was playing in playoff games. Hit those 3 bombs. Was it 3 bombs against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium? 2 or 3 bombs in a game? And he was just a kid.
I was looking to say, like, guys that made their to start on opening day rosters.
At 19, 18.
Let's see. Most recently would have been Junior Caminero was 19 with the Rays.
I mean, is anybody like Junior Caminero playing third for the Rays? He's a beast.
Juan Soto was 19.
Junior Caminero could have, what was the stat I had? 45 home runs before the age of 20 in a season. Was like Joe DiMaggio, Eddie Matthews, Johnny Bench. It was a who's list that Caminero's going to join.
Yeah, there's been some guys, but no one. Harper was 19.
Bryce Harper. This is what we're talking about with DeVries. These names.
Trout was 19.
These are the type of people, Trout. These are the people that come up at that point. They are just so more skilled than everybody that's their age. They have the ability to play at the highest level at a very young age.
Tim Conroy was 18 with the A's in 1978.
I mean, Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett were 18 years old and like, welcome to the NBA, kids. I mean, so it's some of these kids, some people are physically, not always mentally, but physically developed enough to play at the highest level.
A-Rod was 18, you're right.
I thought A-Rod was 19. He was 18.
18, then he was 19 the next year when he did it.
Yeah, so A-Rod was 18. The Padres were thinking about bringing this guy up for the stretch drive because they haven't replaced Profar really in left field.
Yeah,
DeVries now playing for the Braves.
DeVries hasn't turned 19. He's on that list also. He was 19 with the Rangers. DeVries hasn't turned 19 until October. Wow. So impressive. Plus, the comp, he wasn't a comp, but Ed Sprague did say also that he told David Force they were trading, looks like they were essentially trading for Juan Soto.
Okay, so we've heard Ketel Marte.
Yep, that was the Martins article from Billy O.
From Billy Owens, assistant general manager.
We've heard Lindor.
Juan Soto. Lindor's kind of been the easy one. Jimmy Rollins, but Jimmy Rollins was a tiny guy. What was Rollins, like 5'7"?
Yeah, he wasn't.
Now, Shooty Babbitt loved J-Roll.
J-Roll.
He was a huge J-Roll.
J-Roll was 5'7", 175.
Yeah, so that's not, you can't even sniff that because our guy's 6'1". Can't compare a guy who's 6'1" to a guy 5'7".
I think the only comparison is they play shortstop and switch hit.
What other switch hitters at shortstop?
The only guy I ever think of in current game is Lindor.
Well, we got him.
Yeah, so we already got him. That's why I think.
So
that's why I think.
Who else we got?
That's why I think the comp is so easy to say Lindor.
So who else do we have? Like you'd really have to think switch hitting shortstops in the history of baseball, and they got to be over 6 feet if you're going to be in this conversation. Because this kid at 18 years old, we all know. I mean, he's going to grow. He's going to get taller and he's going to get thicker. I mean, you're talking 185 now. He'll probably get to 195, 200 easy.
Well, this list I'm looking at, they had Lindor as the best switch hitting shortstop ever. So that's high praise.
Right, well, there you go.
I mean,
he's being compared to the best switch hitting shortstop of all time.
Didn't Chipper come up as a shortstop?
Yes.
So I mean,
he was drafted as a shortstop.
So there's another one. They moved to third. But hey, Kyler McDaniel said third for Leo DeVries. Right. Padres are saying left field.
Chipper Jones, they immediately went, bro, you're going to go over to third. You're not going to be a shortstop. Good luck. Good luck. Special times. How do you feel? And I know this because we're going to get to this with Stephen Nesbitt from the Athletic. Great article. We've had Fox take it on. The commissioners talking about it. It's going to happen. Once they vote on expansion, they're going to do realignment. They got to redo this thing. Not everybody's going to be happy, but you know what? We have to remember, and I talk about this with Vegas. Everybody wants to focus on the now. Why? Because we as human beings, what time do we have to go to the interview?
We got about a minute.
We focus on the now because we care about us. How does it affect us? How does it affect me now? Right? Like when people, I saw some people, and you guys were talking about the Raiders in Las Vegas because they're focusing on the now. Well, 20 years from now, all these kids in Las Vegas will grow up with the Raiders, and that's all they'll know. So the next 30 years, you're going to have generations, but you're all talking about now, right? Everybody's going to talk about the A's move to Vegas, what's going to happen in 2028. But when you move your business, it is a long-term play. What does it look like in 2035? What does it look like in 2040, 2045? I'll be dead probably. But I mean, at that point, like, years from now, generations grow. As I say all the time, nobody, like the Indianapolis Colts, they moved from Baltimore and it's like, yeah, they had a little bit. And then all of a sudden Peyton Manning showed up and all these women are naming their kids Peyton, their boys. Right? Like well, all of a sudden the Indianapolis Colts are now like the chic thing. Yeah. Peyton Manning showed up and no one sits back and goes, oh, then why aren't they in Baltimore anymore? Well, I'm telling you, time changes things. We focus in the now because that's what we do as humans. But these changes, they're for years to come. So a change right now in baseball, if you ripped up National League and American League and went Western and Eastern Conference, everybody would freak out now. But 10 years from now, no one would care. Yeah, no, you're right. I agree with that. But we should get to the Nesbitt interview. All right, Stephen Nesbitt, we're talking about left-handed dominance, and we're talking about realignment right here on A's Cast. Stephen Nesbitt with us here from the Athletics. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I really mean it. Thank you so much for taking the time. You now have 3 young ones in the household.
I sure am. I'm solo dad this week, and so I appreciate you guys recording at sort of an odd time for you so I could fit it in with the daycare schedule.
Well, I got to tell you, you're pumping out content, and I mean, obviously we're here to talk realignment with you, but then all of a sudden I see the article about left-handed pitchers, and it was fabulous. Well done. It's so interesting because the reality is we have far less left-handed humans than right-handed humans. That's just the way it is, right? And you don't see a lot of left-handed pitchers when you're growing up, and left-handed pitchers, people love having left-handed pitchers. All of a sudden, it's like left-handed pitchers, we've been watching them remake themselves. Like even Jacob Lopez, who's off to a great start for us last night, right? He ended up touching 94 on the gun last night. So all left-handers are throwing harder. They've got more pitches than ever. They're not afraid to come into right-handed hitters anymore because they've been faced to learn how to get the right-handed hitter out, wouldn't you say? Because they now have to face these all right-handed lineups. So to me, just going through your article and all the different pitches now that guys have, it's amazing to watch the left-handed pitcher adapt.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really fascinating story for me to write about, and I really enjoyed just taking that question into clubhouses and saying, hey, look, this season, more than any other, lefties have a massive advantage over righties in ERA. It's over a half run difference. It's never been that large since ERA was an official stat. And so just sort of saying, what's going on here? Like, what are the factors? The first one everyone says is it's exposure, right? 25% of starting pitchers are left-handed. So you're building teams to beat right-handed pitching. You are facing mostly right-handed pitching as a hitter, and so that's what you're practicing most, and that's what you're exposed to most. But like, there's got to be more. There's got to be more there. So we sort of dug into why is left on left so bad, and this year specifically, why is right on left so bad? Righties have almost no platoon advantage. Their splits are almost equal. And so that was when I really enjoyed taking to smart hitters, guys like Alex Bregman, saying, what are they doing? He still hits lefties well, but he said, my slug has really disappeared against lefties. He has better slug against righties, better OBP against lefties. And he said, I think it's that high and inside pitch they never used to give us. It used to be everything away, 4-seamers away, a changeup's away, of course, for the left-hander. And now they're willing to go more places. And I think that's something that fans probably don't understand as much or think about as much is when a guy adds a pitch, sure, that gives him something to look for, but also opens up a quadrant of the strike zone that a guy can now go to and be willing to go to confidently for a swing and miss or weak contact that before they just said, listen, my attack plan to all righties is away. This gives some variety. And then when like you said, the guys can train for more velocity now. They can add a pitch in the offseason. Garrett Crochet has one of the best sinkers in baseball right now, and he didn't even throw that pitch a year ago. That's his main offering now to left-handed hitters. So it's a tough – I didn't include that in there, but Adam Frazier, a left-handed hitter for the Royals, said he's like, who's teaching them this stuff? Unfortunately, there are a lot of people teaching them this stuff.
I was blown away by the number of pitches on average pitchers have these days, right? Because you always thought like, well, you're going to have a fastball. You're going to have a strikeout pitch. Then you might have something that you're working on at your third pitch, and pitching coaches tell you never get beat on your third bat. Yeah, I mean, well, you're finding out that we're averaging almost every pitcher is averaging almost 5 different pitches.
Yeah. That was a really interesting one. Lance Brzezowski, who's a pitching analyst, does a really great job in Chicago. He was the one who brought that number up this offseason, said, I think he's going to predict that we'll clear 5 this year, and it's basically there. And what I wanted to do is take those same numbers and just split it into righty and lefty. And what was interesting there, especially, is 5 years ago, righties are averaging less than 4 pitches in an arsenal. And you think about it, you say, yeah, that makes I kind of see that, right? A lefty is going to throw either the 4-seamer or 2-seamer, whichever one works better for him. They're going to throw that changeup, which tend to work really well against right-handers. And they'll probably have a slider or some sort of breaking ball. Well, today they're all averaging 4.8 pitches, I think, in an arsenal, and that opens up so many things when you're willing to throw all those pitches to both hands. And with the way we study biometrics and pitching, pitch design, pitch spin, then you can figure out where does this pitch play for me, and all of a sudden guys are no longer looking for 1 or 2 pitches in 1 or 2 spots. You're looking for 4 or 5 pitches in a bunch of different spots around the strike zone.
And I just wonder, I don't know if you have the answer to this. It just seems like lefties are also more durable. Lefties have less Tommy John. Managers, I know our manager has let some of our, especially Jacob Lopez and even Jeffrey Springs, who's been hurt in the past, he's allowed them to go a little deeper than games than some of the right-handers. Have you ever looked into that?
No, I thought about doing that for this one, and it just ran out of time. It wasn't really the bottom line, because you're right. You can actually make an argument for this season and say, well, one reason they're so much better is Garrett Cole's out for the year. Corbin Burns is out for the year. Guys coming back from Tommy John like Spencer Strider and Sandy Alcantara, they've been bad this year. So maybe it's more about righties being down than lefties being up. You can certainly find lefties who have had a lot of arm issues, right? Chris Sale's had a bunch of problems. Tarek Skubal's had 2 Tommy Johns. Crochet has dealt with some injuries. But given that they're only a quarter of the pitching population, we're going to hear about it less. But it does seem like the rate is somewhat less. I haven't studied that myself. That would be an interesting thing to look into. But you also throw in to the mix the factor that they average still almost 2 miles per hour less than right-handers. And we know velocity and spin are related to the correlation in the proportion of arm injuries and the frequency. Then lefties, you would assume they are slightly less at risk, and they throw slower and they spin less than righties do.
Fascinating stuff. We could keep going, but we got to get to realignment. Yesterday, before our pregame show on NBC up in San Francisco, we were talking about you. We were talking about realignment, something we've talked a lot about here on A's Cast. And it was amazing. 2 kids in their 20s still don't like, baseball fans working for NBC. They didn't like realignment. So the disease of change is still everywhere around us. We know changing our game has been great. Putting a clock, timer, whatever you want to call it, has been phenomenal. There's been things that have changed that have been great for our game. To geography, with us moving to Vegas, we believe Salt Lake City will be one of the expansion teams, which will be our neighbor. You already got 3 teams right next to each other in Southern California, Dodgers, Angels, Padres. I grew up in San Diego, so I know that dynamic. You still got the Giants and Mariners. I'm thinking about the West, because it's easier to lump all these Midwest and upper Northeast teams. The West has always been kind of the problem, right? For years. I mean, when I was growing up, the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves were in the National League West, and the Houston Astros. It was a joke. So when you start to look at it from the West standpoint, do you think realignment, the commissioner's talking about it, so when he kind of talks about it, it happens. Do you think it has to happen, and how do you see it going in the West for us?
So when they expand to 32 teams, I think it naturally has to happen. I think when the owners vote to expand to 32, I think they'll vote at the same time to realign. But I do think it's going to take a lot of learning about what are the factors they're trying to optimize for here. Because if you just listen to what Rob Manfred said on the Little League Classic timeline, one thing he cited was the 10, it's sort of not exactly what you'd expect him to talk about, which is like that 10 o'clock game in the playoffs, 10 o'clock Eastern, where it's a West Coast team. He used the Angels as an example, and an East Coast team. He used Boston. He's like, everyone's gonna be mad. Like there's no way to please both sides in that. And so realignment would allow for us to have better opportunities for that West Coast matchup. And if you just take him at face value for what he just said, it sounds like he's talking about a Western Conference and an Eastern Conference, right? Like basketball, where they have the late game is the Western Conference teams. That would entirely blow up the American and National Leagues as we see them today.
Yeah.
So that was a more radical move. The radical geographic realignment is something that Jim Bowden has written about for us on The Athletic. I took the other route, which was let's try to make the fewest ripples as possible and make the fewest move, as few moves as necessary to make the map make sense. And so I kind of ignored that part of what the commissioner was saying, to be honest, because I don't know how seriously he's saying it. And I also don't know, is that something the owners would be okay with? Erasing every divisional tie, every divisional rivalry, and saying it's simply geographic, like it is in the NBA, where those Southern California teams aren't together. You maybe add Arizona there. And in the East, you'd have the Yankees and the Mets and Boston all in the same division, and the Phillies there. Like, do you want them all taking each other out? I don't know that the owners would like that. So when I look out West, you're right. The map makes suddenly much more sense when you start to add 2 4-team divisions being out there, because they have, once you add Portland or Salt Lake City, we talked about, like, Salt Lake City seems to have the juice behind them. That really helps balance things, because they're if you look at a map, it's so clustered in the East, even compared to the NBA. It's so clustered in the Northeast that adding anything out West is going to help balance things a little bit. And in theory, if they wanted to add 2 out West, you can't even help the map even more, but it doesn't seem like they're going to probably do that. I think realignment will really help a lot of the West Coast problems. I just don't know that it's going to help the 10 o'clock playoff problem without fully blowing up the entire system.
Do you like the rule that I've had here for years when realignment first came? We first started talking about it years ago. I've had this golden rule. If the flight to your city is longer than 3 hours, we cannot be in the same division.
I think that's fair. I think the Mariners are going to test that more than anybody. I was laughing when I wrote the story as I was trying to take inspiration from what the NFL did in 2002 when they expanded. And a lot of the moves just made a lot of sense when they added the South divisions to the NFC and AFC. But the one that doesn't make any sense is Indianapolis is in the South. And the reason for that being that Miami, the Dolphins, declined an opportunity to be in the South with their brethren. It would have made a lot more sense as far as the map goes. But yeah, it doesn't make any sense that Indianapolis would be in the South. It doesn't make sense that, a Seattle team would be playing, the Brewers or something in their division. They do need to make this all work a little bit better. Having the Rays in the same division as the Red Sox doesn't make sense, right? Correct. They might be able to do it, but there are so many teams up in the AL, like so many teams up Northeast. Why are the Rays part of this? So this would streamline a lot of those strange things. I like that rule. I don't think there's any reason for them to have to spread out that far.
Yeah, Tampa and Miami. The fact that they're not in the same division is a joke. And for years, when we don't have very many 2-team markets, we have these 2-team markets and these 2 teams are not in the same division. It's just like, what in the Bay Area and we're no longer a Bay Area team, but the Giants were literally 13 miles away from us. Our stadiums were 13. Like, we're not playing against it. Like, it's like, it doesn't make sense. I have a feeling because, we're dealing with it in college football, right? The Big Ten is in LA and all the way to New York. Like, do you get the sense that fans, you're just going to have to rip the Band-Aid off and do it, and fans will get used to it?
Yeah, and I think it's about how aggressively do you actually go here. So speaking of the Big Ten, I went to Michigan and my wife went to USC. We never would have ever thought of that as the same conference. And today we're all part of the Big Ten, and Michigan's flying up to Rutgers on one side and USC the other. We all knew that was a money grab, right? We knew it was a money grab when Rutgers and Maryland are added to the Big Ten, and it's just much more blatant when everyone went all the way out to the West Coast. It no longer was some sort of geographic footprint. It's just we're a national conference. And so with baseball, what I've been surprised at is when I wrote this story yesterday, the overwhelming sentiment was like, oh, okay, I don't mind that. But people in their hearts don't want change. They don't want to realign. They want to basically keep things as they are. But then when you see my proposal, I think you see, oh, yeah, for most teams, nothing changed. And for the teams that did, it's like, what? The negative is that, like, Atlanta is in a division with, like, Nashville, Tampa, Miami. It's going to be a pretty weak division likely and may have some struggle, which means Atlanta's going to dominate the division for as they look today. Many things will change over the years. But I think that map just makes a lot of sense. But if they want to do, let's say they want to fully optimize for that, what he mentioned, the 10 o'clock matchup, we want the time zone thing to make more sense. And they do blow up the American National League and they have a West and Eastern Conference. That's the one that I think is going to, I think that'll be very, very poorly accepted by fans. You would be destroying a lot of, I think, history in that move in the name of streamlining for, a playoff schedule and maybe streamlining, just to say, like, if we were to start the league today, how would we do it? Sure, I could see why you do East and West, but that's just not how baseball has been for decades and decades.
Well, and maybe the commissioner's got to say, like, listen, we kept expanding West over the years, and they didn't really know how to do it, and they really didn't. Now we got to really figure out how to do it. Let's end on this. As a Big Ten guy, Big Ten Saturday night, do you get fired up for, like, UCLA Rutgers on a Saturday night in the Big Ten?
Always. Yeah. No, I don't have a whole lot of Big Ten pride for Oregon and Washington, but
Washington, you've waited your whole life to watch Washington play Indiana.
Yeah, the states that I've been to one time, on a trip out to see the Mariners play. No, it felt a lot smaller, and it was a lot smaller when we were taking, road trips to Madison, Wisconsin, and St. Paul for football games and hockey games when I was at the newspaper at Michigan.
Yeah, Bo Schembechler. Can't imagine what he'd be saying about all of this. Hey, great stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. I promote The Athletic all the time. I tell you, you know what? If you still want the best sports journalism, nobody's better than The Athletic, especially for our sport, right? So many people are not really covering our sport anymore and some of the other sports, and you guys still do an unbelievable job. Thank you. We appreciate it. We'll be in touch, and good luck with the 3 kids.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
This has been a presentation of The Athletics.